Well, you have finally got here. You are listening to the Erskine Music Podcast. Here, by popular demand, we discuss life, culture, Christ, and of course, music. These half-hour broadcasts are perfect for a commute, coffee time, chat, or any other gap in your schedule where you want to put great content. So without further ado, let's join the conversation today, already in progress.
I be coming in here like Chuck D up in this thing today. Fight the power. Hey guys, we got to fight for our right to party. And you guys know that's the Beastie Boys. Starting out the show with a bunch of goodness today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for those of you in the international audience. Wanted to start today by just simply saying that we got a banger for today. According to Chris Morris in Fortune magazine, mysterious donors are paying millions to run commercials for Jesus during the Super Bowl. According to Christianity Today, for the first time ever, this is where you pan in, first time ever, more than 100 million Americans will see ad spots that feature the loving, compassionate Jesus of the Bible. And it's all thanks to the He Gets Us campaign. This all started, according to their website, with a diverse group of people passionate about the authentic Jesus of the Bible. While much has been said about him, much is still misunderstood. But we're confident that as people clearly understand and read and learn for themselves about who Jesus is, they'll find wisdom, hope, and peace unlike any other offered. Is this a good thing or not? And if it's a good thing or not, why? Well, I'll tell you that my answer is, I'll tell you what my answer is a little bit later. It's the Erskine Music Show. New intro, banging. What do you think about that, Dolphins? Oh, the Dolphins love that song. All right, so new intro, season 6. We are upon us. We stumbled out the gate a little bit, but you know, you kind of always do that. Had a little camera issue earlier, but you know what? We're always pressing toward excellence, and so we're definitely gonna make this one a banger. And look who decided to show up for class today. Yes, sir, Big Head. What do you think about that? Big Head has been in the room, but taking notes copiously. Big Head has been taking notes copiously, but has not appeared on the screen up until now. Big Head, thank you for coming back to the show. Figured you could probably show up to your own show, Big Head. And here we are. Let's, Big Head, thanks. Get your butt off the screen. All right, for those of you who are out there watching, good morning. The comment section is turned on. Let me just let you guys know that. Comments are on. That Facebook. That hits your algorithm right in the face. YouTube algorithm right in the face. Twitch in your face. And Facebook in your face as well. All right, so you can send some comments my direction, all up in my face. But we're going to be talking about the He Gets Us campaign. Everything that I'm going to be mentioning is in the show notes today from Fortune magazine, Christianity Today. He Gets Us, the official website of that. And I'm excited about the show today. There's a lot that we can say about this, and there's a lot that we need to say about this. But you guys know, once we get the Dolphins in the studio, and once we get Big Head on the screen, we are fully operational here. The Starship Enterprise is fully ready to hit warp speed. And so let's do it. All right. Thanks, Chester. You the man, Chester. You the man. No, you really are the man. All right. The ever-evolving background setup. Now, I told a story about this the other day. I don't know how many people were watching this, but I did have the very copacetic therapeutic background that was going there, and it had the Micah verse there, and it was just a long um, banner poster that was there. You guys know I got that out of the living room, and wife is like, "Hey, where's the decorations for the living room?" "Oh, they're in the study." And I figured since I'm doing this every day, it either needs to come live in here or it needed to go back and live in the living room. And so, in lieu of that, my son figured out that, Dad, you have no backgrounds here, and he's getting ready to change up some things in his room. And so I just took one of the posters out of his room and just put it up there. I'm not trying to represent Marvel or anything, but we, as Chester says, we are ever evolving on this bad boy. And so let's evolve to the point where we actually get the devotion in today. Grab your Bibles, friends, grab your Bibles, and let's get to it. I don't have the Bible background, but you guys know what a Bible is. If you've been watching this show any length of time, you know what a Bible is. All right, here's my brown floppy Bible. Say that a bunch of times. Brown floppy Bible. All right, we're going to be in Psalm 25, verse 5 today. Guide me, it says in Psalm 25, verse 5, in your truth and teach me, for you are God, my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long. Come on. That's good. That's good. Gospel choir. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. Gospel choir likes that. So let me just freestyle on that for just a second there. Undistracted, undivided allegiance, devotion, respect, admiration. I was listening to Southside Rabbis, and they were interviewing Tripoli, and I guess they had done this a little while ago, but I'm still trying to catch up with my episodes of Southside Rabbi. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I'm behind. Some people like subscription things they watch on television. I just happen to like Southside Rabbis. I'm just saying. If you've never seen that podcast, they usually go about an hour, 2 hours on that podcast live stream. And it's just really good. They just have some really good discussions. But they were talking about how we sometimes will get distracted, not just with the busyness of our lives, but we also get distracted with the end goal of our lives. Like we have goals and we have things, deadlines that we're supposed to meet, and we have what is the final product. All right. In the artistic world, how many people streamed it? How many did you sell? What was the bottom line? How many people are playing it? How many people are listening to it? Well, that's really not in the spiritual realm the bottom line. Actually, God does his work on the journey toward and in the heart of the people who are going toward whatever it is. And so often we can get so focused on, hey, got to be there at this time, got to do these type of competencies, get out of the way, don't have time for distractions, that we miss and skip over the process and the progress that happens in our lives when we just come to an understanding of the fact that the people that we meet, the things that we interact with, the things that God is doing in us that calls out patience, the things that calls out reflection in our lives, that is where God is wanting to meet us and interact with us. And so I'm appreciative of this devotion this morning from inspiration.com because it reminds us once again, friends, that God is doing a work in us as he uses us to do a work for his kingdom. So seeking first the kingdom of God, Matthew 6:33, and the devotion from Psalm 25:5. That devotion in its entirety, if you'd like to read it and subscribe to that, is in the show notes for today. All right. So we got that going on today. Just need to give you guys a couple of tags here. I guess if I keep saying this, it actually works because our subscriptions have gone up by 5 or 6 since we started the season. And that's incredible. 5 of those were my accounts here on different iPads and things. I'm just kidding. No, one of those accounts was my account, but I think there's 5 other people who have subscribed since we've been doing this. And so we'll keep doing it. We'll keep that energy.
Well, you probably already know that when you hear that sound, there's music on the way. After all, this is kind of a music show. Sit back and enjoy. All the music can be easily found on your favorite digital distribution channels. Turn up the volume and here we go.
Everything is about to come right up in your face. I love it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit him with everything.
was a castaway, running from it. How did I last the day when you found me running into a greater light? I was blind when I found my sight. Oh, I tried changing the way I was thinking, but I couldn't do it alone. The gospel gave me a reason for living a new life in Jesus alone. Now it's changing, oh it's changing, it's changing everything. My resurrection feels like I'm running free. Life is so different than what it used to be. Testify, rescue. I'm never going back, not defined by a broken past. Oh, I tried changing the way I was thinking, but I couldn't do it alone. The gospel gave me a reason for living a new life in Jesus alone. Now it's changing, oh it's changing, it's changing everything. Anything is possible with Jesus in my life. There's nothing more incredible than God so loved the world. Oh, the gospel gave me a reason for living a new life in Jesus alone. I tried changing the way I was thinking, but I couldn't do it alone. The gospel gave me a reason for living a new life in Jesus alone. Now it's changing, oh it's changing, yeah it's changing, oh now it's changing everything.
That was the song Everything, because the gospel changes everything in our lives. All right, without further ado, friends, let's get to the top story for today. Calling this an unprecedented moment in history, there are ads for an unprecedented and cultural moment. According to the website, He Gets Us, we live in a time when church attendance is down, as religious volunteering is dropping, while 75% of Americans, excuse me, this is Christianity Today. Let me make sure I get my source right. While 75% of Americans self-identify as Christians, they identified as such in 2011, only 63% said that the same decade later. While Christians often describe themselves as giving, compassionate, and loving, non-Christians often see Christians as against them, not for them. Here's the big thesis as it relates to He Gets Us and the campaign. They say of themselves, and we're going to do the pros and cons of this today. They say of themselves, we want to raise the respect for Jesus in the eyes of those who may feel marginalized or even hurt by the church, because we believe that Jesus is for everyone. That's their statement, and that's their sentiment. And let's look at a little bit of their promo here, just to give you guys a sense. You may have seen some of these before, and as I started looking through some of the videos, I recognized I've seen these pop up before, and they always catch my attention because I'm thinking, what are they? It's so graphically appealing that I look at it and I think, well, that's about Jesus. So here's one that Jesus invited everyone to sit at the table. Let's look at this.
A caring man took a walk. Everywhere he looked, people suffered. Anxiety ran high, hope dwindled, hatred rose. His neighbors had lost trust in the system and in each other. I need to do something, he thought. I'll bring them together and feed them. Around the dinner table, they can talk and see how much they have in common. Shared struggles, shared joy, shared pain. So he prepared a feast and invited all into his home. But some refused to sit at his table because they chose to only see differences. He was heartbroken because he wanted everyone to eat and be filled, not with food and wine, but with compassion.
All right. So we will look at another one of those a little bit later. But as you can see, very visually appealing, very stunning in its presentation. And so we'll share what we'll do here. We'll just get the website up just so you guys can see that. All right. He gets us. He do. All right. Well, we'll look at another one of those a little bit later. I'll leave that just there on the screen for just a few moments so that we can get into this discussion today about the He Gets Us campaign. I know there's some who are alarmed, some who are shocked, some who are saying this probably shouldn't be the case. There's some who love it. And we'll kind of break down all those different responses. I have 3 for it, 3 against it, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Remember, hit that algorithm up just by typing a comment in there, comment section. I know there's about a 10-second delay there, but I'll try to camp out on each of these for a few moments just so that you guys have time to enter the discussion on here. But are you for this? Are you against this? Maybe that's too binary a discussion. And I'm trying to get away from unnecessary binary. Some things are or they aren't. There's some things in reference to the gospel. Jesus is Lord means everyone is not. That's a helpful binary for us. All of us, 100% of us are dead in our sins and our trespasses. That's a good. So you're either saved or you're not saved. Okay, that's a good binary. But sometimes when we look at things especially in the area of art and creativity, there are some points in which we can gain understanding of just the nature of who God is by seeing some things that are beautiful, seeing some things that are creative, seeing some things that speak in the area of wisdom. And then there's other things that you say, well, I may not have used that camera angle, or I may not have used that shot. And we can kind of nitpick some of those things. Doesn't make it necessarily completely wrong. It just might not be your thing. And for some people who are out there, as I grow more and more accustomed to the culture, so to speak, of music artists, there's a lot of artists out there who don't pay that much attention to sports. And look, I'm not judging anybody. I played sports. You guys know that I'm brand sponsored by Fellowship of Christian Athletes. For any of the folks that are part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes who are out there who are watching this, much love to you guys. Thank you so much for the tour that you guys gave in the facility, and we sang for you guys, and it's a wonderful experience there in Kansas City while we were there in the Midwest. But I'll just simply say that for me, it has been helpful to have a sports background even as I go into music, because it gives me another cue to be able to speak to people. You go to a homeless shelter, you go to a place where there's people from a different socioeconomic standpoint, maybe different life experiences, maybe substance abuse issues. If you're in Kansas City and talk to them about the Kansas City Chiefs, you're already into a conversation. Now, obviously, we have music that we could rally around and we could talk about that. And that's a universal language and people enjoy that for the most part. But sports is just one of those things that in our culture, because it is estimated that a third of our population will be watching the Super Bowl or some way be involved in the Super Bowl. Churches will be having Super Bowl parties. Friends, individuals, families will be having Super Bowl parties. Some people don't even watch the game. They watch the halftime show. They watch the ads that come up through there. And there's just a lot of phenomenon, if I can use that word. There's a lot of phenomenon when it comes to the Super Bowl. And so whether you like it or whether you don't, that's not what I'm here to say. But it simply is a discussion in which it brings us to the point where we are discussing art and we're discussing where Jesus is placed in art. Jesus in culture, Jesus above culture, Jesus with culture. we're getting a chance to see some of those elements as we look at this. And so I want to give you three things that I think are maybe helpful, maybe cool, maybe good, maybe. You guys can give me more in the comment section if you guys are coming up with those as we're going through. But here's the right and the wrong. My answer is yes. Jesus for everyone is their tagline that they have here. And number one, I would say the Jesus would share his compassion with everyone in the form of forgiveness and sin and healing of brokenness. We find that in Matthew chapter 8. We find that in Mark chapter 4, the healing of the paralytic. So, in a sense, here's my estimation. I would say that it is right in the sense that it reached in love, and love reaches people in love, and this love covers a multitude of sins. The marginalized, so to speak. Big Head, get on the screen here. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you, Big Head. So we've got we've got an ad campaign. Now, these are anonymous donors. They've given over $100 million to get themselves in position to be able to pay that much to be able to get to the Super Bowl spots. Some of those, what was it, 35, 60? I mean, you're talking billions of dollars. I think it was 1.4 billion. The last Super Bowl ad, just for the first spot in the Super Bowl. They're not going to take the first spot, but they are going to enter the fray of commercials that are found in the Super Bowl. And so you'll be seeing some of these commercials pop up during the Super Bowl. My thought there is I absolutely love Big Head, the heart behind this that says we are going to present Jesus in a way that's not condemnatory. We're going to present Jesus with some of these softer edges so that people get an opportunity to see compassion. They get an opportunity to see love. And I think I could be wrong. I could just, my senses, my Spidey sense and Spider-Man's Spidey sense of that we could be completely wrong. It could be disconnected. But I think from all the messaging that I've seen, and you guys can go on their website, show notes are out there. But I think from all the messaging that I have seen personally, that this is conceived in a compassionate, loving.
Well, that certainly gives a sense of why people enjoy this show. Very engaging, very heartfelt. We will return to the conversation in a few moments, but first, let's thank our sponsors and you for all your awesome support. Moody Radio's Dawn and Steve Morning Show, Life Action Ministries, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and Holt International. Thanks so much to our partners who make such a difference. All right, let's get back to the show. This is where it gets good.
That it is done not for profit, obviously. It is done not for individual names to go up or status to go up or even ministries to go up. It's a collection of donors who have come together, ministries who have come together, perhaps people who are concerned about presenting Jesus in the culture. And I would say that's a number one. Come on. I'm alive. I'm awake today. No coffee needed. So I think that's a major win for this particular brand, is that they're conceiving this in love. All right. The the love covers a multitude of sins. This is another thing that I think is actually pretty good about this. You guys drop some comments whenever you get ready. I'm not paying as much attention to the comment section as I probably should. Sorry about that. But it is reaching and showing graphic images of those who are marginalized. Now, there's nothing worse than trying to sear your consciousness. And you guys know what I'm talking about when I say things like this. In every city, and we live in Nashville, Tennessee. In every city, Kansas City, cities that we go to, there are always the people that are on the side, Big Head, panhandling, holding the sign. I don't necessarily see work for food anymore, but I see a lot of signs that say anything helps. We drive past, or maybe we get the fortunate or unfortunate position. We get pole position, and we're the first person at the line. And there's a number of things that go through people's minds. And I've been there. I know. You're there. The person is standing right next to you. There's a couple of things. the clock starts ticking. You know there's people who are behind you. But if you do engage, how long do you engage? Because I'm pretty sure that most of the people who are watching the show have engaged at some level, but it's kind of like, am I going to stop traffic so that I can have a conversation? Or am I going to just try to do the quick thing and just maybe throw something out and, hand somebody something, God bless you, and, just be on your way? Or will you try to engage a little bit more and sustain a little bit of a conversation? How can I pray for you? Here's something that will help you. Sometimes I'll put $1 in a gospel track and I'll say, here's a gospel track, and this message is going to lead you to hope and encouragement beyond just what this dollar can do. All those different things. We feel uneasy, right? We feel a little bit nervous about what's going on. And sometimes we try to, okay, if we be honest, we try to go around places where there's going to be a lot of visual evidence of that because it reminds us of the fact that there's people who are in need. Well, it was cold here in Nashville the last couple of days, and so we went to a warm house. There's some people who don't have a house. There are some people who are out in the cold. Hopefully, and the rescue missions that are there, all the church ministries that open their doors, there wasn't anybody that was out in the cold that was harmed by that. But we're going to our warm houses. We're in our warm cars. We're listening to our music. We're doing all the different things. We're rushing, as we talked about in the devotion today, we're rushing to the next event that we have or the next meeting that we have. And we overlook the people that are there. And it does kind of do something to our hearts to see people who are in the condition that they're in, struggling as they are. And so sometimes we try to anesthetize ourselves to that, turn the music up, drive a little bit faster. I can't give anything. I at least try to wave. I know that might be disrespectful to some, like, hey, he's waving, but he's not giving me anything. But just the human element of me, I just can't get by the fact that I want to at least show people that you're not invisible to me. I'm not going to just try to ignore you because it's inconvenient for me to roll down the window or I don't have anything with me at the time. And so this attempt to visually portray those who are marginalized, I think, is important for us. I just think that's a win in the direction of we need to be acquainted with the fact that even though we can drive into our nice homes, sometimes we have a garage that we can drive into. We don't even have to see our neighbors anymore. And we can go from our garage into our house and we're just not bothered by anything. I think it is good that we be bothered every once in a while. I'm just going to, as an Erskine music brand, I think it's good that we be bothered every once in a while with the state of what's going on. All right. A little bit more from their videography, because I'm talking about these graphic images that they share. I think that's a win. If you guys don't like that, I'm sorry. But I like it. He gets us. Okay. So there's the dinner party invite that's there. Whoa. Get that StreamYard stuff over there. I'm using StreamYard. Okay. Quit advertising to me. Well, that's not helpful. That's the one. I'm watching it, but you're not watching it. There it is. Sorry.
He cried as he thought about all the unbearable things the people were going through. The mental anguish racked him with sorrow, but it was his cross to bear.
Let's get one more. The influencer.
There was an influencer who became insanely popular. Everybody started following him. Then, one day, he stood up for something he believed in. People got angry. The establishment called him an extremist, said he shouldn't be allowed to share his views. They would stop at nothing to shut him up. So they did what they had to do. They nailed him to a cross.
Jesus was canceled. He gets us. All right. So you got the soundbite for the first one, and I wanted to make sure that I left that there for the podcast. And then you got a chance to see the last couple of visual images that were there. The third thing that I wanted to say, this is kind of on the positive side of things, just kind of balancing it out here, is that there was a lot of money. I think excess of $100 million. $100 million. I don't necessarily have that laying around right now, but $100 million was given as an investment from, again, anonymous donors who are not trying to be recognized for their massive investment that they made in this campaign. It's a God-shaped vision. And you guys know on the Erskine Music Show, I get so annoyed sometimes when I just want to do picky Annie stuff. I just want to just Putin Annie stuff that's out there. I just want to do just the bare minimum of what is required to be a follower of Christ. I want to do the bare minimum of what we can actually do with our energy and our strength, our time, talent, and treasure. You guys know that absolutely annoys the fire out of me. Why are we not asking God for big things? Why are we not attempting big things for God? These people were willing to put their money and their mouth and their time and their talent and their treasure together to be able to do something that is God-sized. To think that you would ever have an ad during the time of the Super Bowl, most ministries they would back away from that and say, oh, we'll get them some other way. Or we'll do the breakfast, or we'll do the, and that's all. That's fine. That's great. But these people were willing to say, no, Jesus is this important that kind of like when you used to watch games back in the old days, when the Bears were good, there would be people who were holding up a John 3:16 sign. Now they paid their money. They came to the game. They got great tickets. They're on camera and they're holding up a John 3:16 sign. You don't hardly see that anymore. And these people are willing to put it out there like that. And then there's another thing here. This is still kind of part of my number 3 of the financial investment that's involved. People don't give their money to things they don't believe in. If you look at a person's pocketbook, their checkbook, you can see what it is that they truly love. And these people who have given so much, if you're watching this today and you're one of those anonymous donors that's out there, I just want to simply say, maybe $50 million to you wasn't a big deal. Maybe you could just write that check. But it does say something that you wrote a $50 million check or a $20 million check to an organization so that Jesus could be seen by our culture. I say bravo. And because it was not just one particular denomination, we about to get on that. Come, where y'all at? Where y'all at this? Y'all quiet this morning. Because it wasn't a particular denomination, there were people who actually, big head, get back on the screen. There were people who actually came together despite their differences and decided that they would work together for the good of portraying Jesus and his compassion in this culture. Come on, somebody. Guys, big head, you know the deal. I used to be Southern Baptist, and one of the Southern Baptist institution, Southwestern Seminary, I call the name out. Wonderful institution. They're doing fantastic work. All the exegetical goodness that comes from my presentation of the gospel was learned at Southwestern Seminary. I love that seminary, and I love the folks who were there. Fine folks participated in the Annie Armstrong and Lottie Moon offering for over a decade as a part of Southern Baptist churches. I love the mission work of the vision of Southern Baptist, but I'm not Southern Baptist anymore. We're church planners now, and we just got to go where the Lord tells us to go. We're not affiliated. We're non-denomination, and that almost in a way it just seems like I shouldn't be saying that. But we're not affiliated with the Southern Baptist. But I've recognized something about the Southern Baptist. They like to fight a lot. A lot. And denominationally speaking, since I can only come from one vantage point, I know that there's other denominations that are out there. Look, if your denomination didn't come up with it, you're probably not accepting the help from another denomination. And I've been around this thing long enough to let you, I'm going to look right in the camera. I've been around this thing long enough to know that if your group didn't think about it and some other group thought about it, and maybe they'll get a little bit more credit, a little bit more shine than you, they're not working together on anything. They are not coming together for the good of the gospel. Sorry about that, Southern Baptists and other folks that are out there. Ne'er will you ever see the Southern Baptists and the Nazarenes working together. Ne'er will you ever see the Southern Baptists and the Southern. And I know, and don't do that. There's denominational differences and there's things that separate us. Oh, well, what about Jesus? All right, so here's some things. That was a touchdown, but it didn't quite come across. Anyway, let's zoom ahead because we got to finish this thing off today. Here's some things that I think maybe we could adjust in this, but this is just me. I'm a little nitpicky at this point. You think I'm just a homeboy for He Gets Us. I don't know these guys. They haven't contributed 1 cent to Erskine Music. I'm not trying to pander to them to get them. Here's what I want them to recognize. If you're part of this campaign, here's what I want you to recognize. Here's where you might be a little bit off. In your stated goals, you're trying to raise the respect of Jesus. And I appreciate that. I do respect that. But Jesus don't need the respect of him raised. Sorry, I'm yelling into the camera, preaching this morning. He does not need you to raise his respect. Jesus already has respect. And that will be realized in the eschaton. What do I mean by that, friends? What I mean by that essentially this morning is that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father. But that is not always and only going to happen on this side of glory. In fact, that is going to happen when Christ returns. And so we need to be, a la the message that I preached, the short message that I preached on the last day of the revival at Grace. We need to be telling people, reminding ourselves, reminding our culture, the Lord is coming back. And he's coming back soon, and we need to be prepared because there are some who think they are, who definitely will not be. And there are some who need to be reminded of the fact that their hope is going to soon be realized. John said we should be reminding ourselves of this. Why are we not talking about this more? We should be talking about the day of the Lord's return. It could be before I finish this broadcast today. There should be a sense of urgency for us to recognize, to do the real soul-searching heart work of recognizing whether or not we are in the faith. Paul said to test ourselves to see whether or not we be in the faith. Come on, gospel choir. All right, I'll continue. Church hurt is a funny thing. It is in my most compassionate moments to say that there are some people who have been abused by the church. Southern Baptists, y'all are listening to me right now. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And even though I have some stark variances with the Catholic Church knows what I'm talking about. There are some people who have been legitimately detrimentally defrauded by the church. And to those that I might be speaking to or watching this today, I want to just apologize to you. But church hurt is a funny thing. It is, I tried the church and it failed me. My friends, that's a narrow experience. And it doesn't mean that just because you tried it and it's a failure, that it's a failure. It's actually a fallacy to say that because one church or even two churches in the vast array of churches that were out there were not what you desired or you didn't get out what you wanted. And I'm not talking about the abuse. That's a separate category. But because you tried a church, then you fallaciously say that because this church was this way, then all churches are this way, right? That's a fallacy to say those kind of things. Maybe that church, that particular church was going through a different or a difficult season. And you tried that church during that season and things were not working out because it was a difficult season at the church. Before that season and now after that season, the church is completely different. The culture is different. The people are different. And because you tried it during that season to say that the church didn't work or the church failed you or you were hurt by the church, I think is not helpful. It's just not helpful. I tried to work. It was a bad job, a bad employer, a bad manager. And so I'm not going to work anymore. It's not a one-to-one correspondence in the analogy, but it is to simply say that how would you, from one experience, paint all other experiences as though they were lacking because of your one experience? It's way too small a sample size. It's way too fallacious an argument to use. And so I appreciate the adjustment that says that we want to speak to people who have been hurt by the church, but I don't know that all of that is necessary. No, just present the church. And I'm not trying to tell you how to do your ad campaign. You paid millions of dollars. I paid nothing. I was not even asked, probably because I don't fit the demographic of people who would be giving to this. You do your ad campaign and your commercials the way that you want to do those, but that's maybe a critique that I would have there. You don't have to pander to people who have been marginalized, so to speak, in the way that they've been hurt by the church and they've tried church and they've it's just not for them. Maybe just present the goodness of the church, the richness of the church, some of the images that, failing, brokenness, hurt, harm, all those different things. Jesus was an influencer. uh, that's great. But when do we get to the imagery of the beauty of the church, the people who are sacrificing, the people who are doing things behind closed doors that nobody except for God knows about, who are impacting people's lives, who are touching eternity daily with their service and their faithfulness and their consistency? How do we graphically portray that? That would just be a critique. And the third thing, because I got to get out of here this morning, I can be up here all day. You guys have stuff to do. I have stuff to do. Let's get it today. But third and finally, and I don't want to end on a bad note, but just, I was taught this very early on in ministry. Follow the money. Follow the money. And I know there's some comments that were coming up here. So, okay. Good morning, folks. I did want to let you know that I did acknowledge that. And Pastor Heron, I did acknowledge that you were there. I saw the comments on there. I just didn't put them on the screen. But the third and finally, and I'll finish with this. We have over $100 million has been given for this project. That's great. That's fantastic. James would tell us in James chapter 1, verse 27, that pure and undefiled religion before God the Father is just to visit orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being stained or spotted by the world. $100 million commercials. It's culturally relevant. Maybe it's culturally appropriate. $100 million as it relates to the widows and those who have been disenfranchised in our society. If we're so concerned about those who have been abused, maybe marginalized, maybe hurt in the context of the church, there are care facilities that are caring for whether those be physical needs, emotional needs, financial needs that are being parceled out to people. I was just in Kansas City. You guys know that. Sarah was watching this. There's other people watching this at Healing Hands. It's two H's, and I cannot get those H's right. Healing Hearts, Healing Hands, Helping Hearts. One of those ministries, it was in my show the other day. I was just there. And to watch the work that they're doing, they're feeding people, they're doing counseling services, they're doing life on life groups, they're doing all the different things to help people who are in various stages of recovering from not just church hurt, but also societal hurt. Could not, and this is just a question of mine, could not some of that money be better spent by parceling that out to the widows and the orphans? You guys know that we're a foster family and we have kids that are presently with us. Probably if you go back and listen to this show, you will hear babies that are crying in the background. This is bath time at our house. But could not some of that money be used? I'm just asking. I'm not telling you. I'm just asking. And maybe you are. Maybe the people who have done this are also having their hands in all of these organizations who are feeding people, clothing people, counseling the marginalized, sharing the gospel, helping those who are in a situation where Healing House, thank you. Goodness gracious. Help a brother out. Thank you so much for that. Healing House. Maybe the orphans that are out there, those who are being trafficked, those who are finding themselves in just a difficult situation to be able to move forward. because of some restraints, who were young, like children who are there, babies that are there. That bumps into all sorts of discussions about pro-life, abolition, whole life movement. But maybe that's a high price tag for a few commercials. I'm sure. And this is how I'll close out. That was my final question. What's the good? What's the bad? How do we weigh this out? I don't think it's a binary thing where it's all good or it's all bad, or that it's just good or that's just bad. But maybe we weigh this out and we just say, well, we're going to take from this what we can. You're sitting at a Super Bowl party and you're like, hey, did you see that commercial? Man, what do you think about Jesus? And it opens up conversations, and it leads to you sharing the gospel, and it leads to people being brought to faith in Christ. And then as a result of that, wanting to join the church. This could be a massive movement. I'm not for it. I'm not against it, but I'm definitely for Jesus. I just want to say that I do believe that God uniquely uses this cultural moment and things like this. If you're looking at it and you're saying, well, I don't know that this is necessarily a good thing, he will, in spite of whatever is not good about it, use it for his glory, because that's how God is. That's how he do. If you're looking at this and you're saying, man, this is just a wonderful thing, incredible thing. We have this discussion piece that's in the center of our conversation, in the center of our culture, brought to prominence. Then to you, I would say he will work through that for his glory and for his renown.
We have come to the end of this episode. Don't miss a final word from Erskine.
Hey guys, tell your friends about this show. And as always, I look forward to your interactions. Please contact us as you are able. We love to hear from you. Okay, friends, let's go and make a difference. Music show, we out.